That's it. I'm growing a beard this week.
Thank you. Time back on. That's Ruffcraft, big boy.
Gus, we're back. I thought we'd be off air by now, but we've continued. We've managed to do one before every game this year, bar
that one game. Yep.
Do you remember the rest? Was it Adelaide?
I think it was a mandated.
We lost.
Yeah, and then we had to come back and do it. I do remember. I think it was Adelaide.
Apologise for
not doing it.
Gus and Gawny, we're back. Obviously joined by Gus, and we're joined by Gibby off the top.
Love being off the top.
Yeah, we've got some feedback that you off the top's better, because then it gets better as the podcast goes on.
Yeah, I've heard the numbers have dropped off after the first segment. So
really?
It's an interesting selection.
There you go.
But
can you get a copy of those numbers for me?
I'll send them through.
Got a little bit of background noise because our footy manager's on the juicer in Alan Richardson, so I told him just to give us half an hour without a juice, but he couldn't give it to us.
Yeah, look, Richo, if you're listening, I'm sure you aren't because you're too busy juicing stuff, but you've real missed the mark here, mate. We were talking this morning, I was talking to Claire, our communist leader, about how much value the podcast brings to the club and all the good things we've done. And so for him to disrespect us like that, based on all the work we do, I feel pretty
I'll tell you who is a listener that I found out during the week.
Go on.
Our previous fearless leader in Glenn Bartlett.
Wow.
Messaged me and said, thanks for the pump up during the week. I didn't think it was a pump up. It was more, can you come defend us and take down Shapes?
So we've got some feedback from the Shapes people after a year and a half of campaigning. They've actually got back to us.
Wow.
A high-ranking executive from the Shapes Corporation. Is that correct in saying that? High-ranking. High-ranking gets thrown around a bit.
Can we get into it this episode? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some. We've definitely got some stuff to talk about. I've got it penciled down, down here.
Gibby, what do you got for us?
Well, I think Gus wanted to kick off the news first up with the Mark of the Year nomination, so I'll throw it to you.
Well, you sort of took my thunder there, but we as a podcast...
well, no, he didn't take your thunder. He threw it to you.
Yeah, but it would have been a surprise. I would have built up to it. It would have been nice. Maybe you're the reason why our first... if the segment numbers have gone down, it's probably got something to do with you. Anyway, we've got a rich history of making movements, making things, making ideas realities on this podcast, and something I'm very proud of. Now, earlier in the year, I don't think it's a stretch to say I
was in a bit of strife.
You're in a bit of strife.
Yeah.
Georgiades had the Hilux in his hands, or whatever the car is that they give to the winner these days.
What is it?
It is now a year supply of 4 and 20 pies, as well as $5,000.
So he got myself a couple of pies.
So he would have owned it. He would have given you some sympathy pies, undeniably. He's got the pies in his hand. He's up there. He's taking a mark on you. And I'll be honest with you, I feared for you. What we did, though, we rallied the podcast. We got a strong group of listeners.
We had Waitman as well.
Waitman as well.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring that up. Waitman as well. They had half the pies each.
Yep.
And we said, people, Jack Riewoldt is not a player of the Melbourne Football Club.
Yeah. We don't necessarily love Jack Riewoldt. I mean, I respect what he does on the football field.
He's not a friend of the podcast.
He's not a friend of the podcast, but
we said everyone
we would like a couple of 4 and 20 pies.
Throw your weight behind Jack Riewoldt. And sure enough, the Mark of the Year results, the finalists have just come out, and Jack Riewoldt's one of them. You're not one of them.
I'll get back to this. Is Richo making juice for the whole club?
So I've literally just seen Richo. He's gone now, but so the first juice making happened. Then he appeared in my line of sight, and now there's still someone making juice. So let's give Richo a pass.
What was the question?
No, less a question, more just a thank you to everyone involved. I'm staring down the camera. You've saved Max Gawn because there's no doubt in my mind you were in a bit of trouble, and our voters have got Jack Riewoldt across the line. I feel like they haven't announced it yet, but if he doesn't get it, then something's wrong with the system.
Bolton and O'Brien are the other two. Are you still thinking Riewoldt?
Has to be. Best mark I've
ever
ever seen.
I did watch the 3 the other day because multiple people tagged me in the tweet, and I watched it, and Tim O'Brien's is pretty good.
Yeah,
it's not bad. Jack Riewoldt's the best I've ever seen, though, and that's what everyone sort of thinks.
Yeah, so they're clearly the best 3 marks of the year,
comfortably.
Daylight, then fourth potentially mine against Geelong.
Take your pick. Yeah. But what I'm proud of is that the people have responded, rallied, and that's some good news to start the podcast off. I'm sure you're feeling real good about it.
I am.
Whilst we're on that theme, goal of the year, Cozzy has been nominated. So
which one?
St Kilda.
It's a good question.
Oh, that was a good goal.
It was a good goal. Roving left foot snap. So him, Sarong. Sarong's is a very good check side.
Can game context be brought into it?
Well, then Jack Riewoldt should win it if game context is brought into it because that was late in the last.
How about game context? Max Gawn's wins it.
But game context with Sarong, that was to kick the sealer in a derby.
Sorry, mate. You want to talk about game context?
Yeah, but mine was an uncontested mark, double grubber. Like,
Yeah, but sorry, we're talking. I thought game. I'm just maybe
actually,
I'm
sorry,
playing
contested. I've gone back and looked at the video. Gary Rowan slaps my arm, hence the double take.
Yeah, but game context. I'm just saying.
I've only watched it once.
So Bontempelli is the other one. Hopefully,
Oh, his is good.
his
That's
is good.
that's in Perth as
Left
well.
foot snap. That's a
Have you
tough
seen
kick.
that one against West Coast?
No.
Oh, it hits a ground ball full pace, left foot snap from the pocket,
Yeah.
and not the pocket.
Bending
that
the
the left
wrong
foot snap's
way.
good. Yeah.
Okay.
So
well, I
all
reckon
good
that
goals.
we can get Cozzy across the line
Yeah.
in the similar ilk which we
Yeah.
kept you from the jaws of death. We
Yeah.
can get Cozzy across the line. So
I'm happy
everyone,
with that.
So we're shifting from supporting a Richmond player to getting on Cozzy.
yeah, it should
Support
feel-
Melbourne
him.
supporter. That's
Yeah.
an interesting take. Yeah.
should feel right for
Yeah.
all of you guys. So that's good.
The recent news is, of course, that Perth will be hosting the grand final. I think we probably saw it coming from a little while out, but that's the verdict.
We don't want to speculate, obviously, so we didn't. But
Yeah.
it's
Have we got a
official.
time? You got us a
Fact.
time?
I don't have a time. Well, what time would you want to play?
Yeah, well, let's speculate. I have a feeling it would be normal time grand final in Perth, so 2:30 Perth, and
twilight.
then 4:30
I've
twilight.
got a dentist appointment
because
at
they.
2:30.
I don't know why I laughed at that because they wanted to try night and twilight, and they tried night last year, so now try twilight.
Makes sense.
Do you have any news as to why there's a pre-grand final bye?
So initially, I think they wanted the date to be on September 25th. That was booked in for Victoria. Potentially, the extra week helps people get from Melbourne to Perth and quarantine.
See, I've got a family. Sorry, mum and dad. I have a family. My parents have both been trying to get
You've
over
got a
here for a
family?
long time. Yeah, it's funny that, but
Yeah, right.
they've both been trying to get over here on my
Mum is
mum's.
here, isn't she?
She's here. She got
Yeah.
eventually on compassionate grounds, but Sticks has been rejected more times than I can count, and that just seems ludicrous. That and I'm not again. This is a wild speculation. It doesn't seem likely that McGowan's going to start letting people in for a grand final when my old man has been rejected on all these compassionate grounds for so many times.
Yeah.
See, Eddie Maguire got
Eddie
rejected.
Maguire got
Yeah.
rejected. So I think it would be to let in people like Gil McLaughlin. I'd be letting him in.
Do you
But
reckon we could get Gil on?
That'd
if,
be
if we win the
grand
prelim.
final.
If we win the prelim and Gil's
Sorry,
out
mate.
of quarantine.
Gil, if you're listening, I know you probably are. Super important guy. Done a lot of good stuff. If we win, and this is a big if, we've already got someone locked in.
Oh, we do. Yep. Sorry.
And he makes Gil look like a peanut in comparison. So
I did hear Claire say this segment will get cut. I'm not 100% sure whether that's going to happen or not. No cut podcast, but hopefully
okay, podcast. Gil,
No.
and total respect for you, Gil. That's what you got to remember.
I want to address the
maybe
myth.
get him on in the bye week.
Hey, man,
You could get him on in the bye week.
we could have 2 podcasts.
Can
Yeah,
I address the myth behind the no cut podcast? We've cut 17 times in 4 weeks.
And okay, so we're doing this.
Yep.
It disappoints me.
A lot of it seems to be based off you would like to go places where this podcast doesn't need to go.
Well, I don't want to get this bit cut, which I could very easily. There's a few buzzwords, gang, that really set the crew off.
Anything else in the news?
Well, Jaden Hunt, reported as 2 to 3 weeks away. I think the actual bye pre-grand final could come in handy, so could potentially put his hand up. The other news is VFL season is over, unfortunately.
Official.
VFLW grand final, that was unlucky. That was going to be played between Collingwood and Geelong the week before lockdown hit. They're still hoping to get that one away.
Probably hurts that half the Casey team's in Joondalup.
Yeah, that's not going to help
Can't imagine.
boys. So, yeah, VFL season done. The other one, a little shout out. So there's a girl named Cass who's driving 600 kilometres to our prelim next week. So if there are any other...
North or south? Albany? Or
Does it go 600k south?
I think it does.
I'm hearing
Albany's a
north.
fair way south.
I'm hearing north.
I'm presuming north. Like a Kalgoorlie. No, Kalgoorlie south as well. Like a...
Kalgoorlie?
what's the place up there? The Carafa. Up that way.
Can't confirm, but 600 kilometres, fair effort. If anyone else is travelling, let us know.
Yeah,
because
let us hear your travel stories.
Albany's 500 k's
We
away.
want
That's on me.
red and blue all over Optus Stadium next week. So, yeah.
Probably from Gerald.
Thank you. You made it to the TV this week, I hear.
I did hear that.
Hamish McLaughlin called you, as in like Brayshaw passes the ball to Gawn. Gawn kicks it in, and there's Ben Gibson, who is a Melbourne employee. Hamish McLaughlin run with that.
Haim. Wow.
Did
There's
you pay
two
him?
McLaughlin mentions.
It was a
this week.
strange decision from him to, mention the Waterway when there's a lot of...
Well, you're back, Water Boy, which I
was
got a
back
lot of
Waterboy.
mentions. People were happy with that.
Yeah.
Where does
three,
that
three from three.
Where does
Yeah.
that stack up at mention in your Weebly highlights?
It's not on the Weebly at this stage.
Not on the
Hamish-
Weebly.
You're going to take it out and put it on the Weebly.
Hamish is on the Weebly, so I did some work experience with Hamish when I was in Year 12. So that's how he obviously
So
recognised.
yeah,
And that
but
made the
we're-
Weebly.
That made the Weebly.
But
yeah.
this
Great
mention
man.
didn't make the Weebly.
That didn't make the Weebly.
Let's check the Weebly back in the week.
The Waterboy career is not on the Weebly.
Should be. It's a mistake that it isn't.
All right, you can say, as we just quickly run through a few things that have grabbed our attention this week for podcast topics, and also before we get to our big guest that we've been asking for weeks, and we're finally getting the cockroach, Simon Goodwin.
Sorry, we've been. It's one of those sayings gets thrown around loosely. We've been asking for weeks in the podcast game. This is, I think, the other way.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
He's been wanting to come on.
In fact, let's save this.
We do have a waiting list.
Let's save this up.
We'll save it. There is a basketball 2K PlayStation competition going on at the moment.
There is. I'm involved. So are you. I heard...
round one, the first half of round one was played yesterday, and myself and Nathan Jones...
Who'd you draw?
Thought it'd be very funny to enter a team. We both don't know much about PlayStation. I know how to play the Tour de France cycling game, and that's about it. And Nathan Jones was Googling the buttons before we played. And we took out two of the IT boys in Ollie and Vincent.
Wow.
And we were strong.
That's a scalp.
Jonesy was sinking threes.
Wow.
Like, it was unbelievable. So we're called the toe ballers.
Yeah.
Because we're both bald and then we're ballers.
Yeah, sure. Hey, makes sense on two levels.
Yeah. So I think that's a pretty creative name. Your team?
We're the Charlie Spargo and I have...
Great man, Charlie Spargo.
He's a good man.
Yeah.
Friend of ours.
He works for us.
We are, yeah, he does. And we got some news to report on some of his stuff. We're playing tonight, so I think we're playing Toby and Cos. But we've got a good chemistry, Spargs and I.
We're running into Dogger and Reeve in round 2, so I'm thinking we might not even turn up.
Don't get overawed by the occasion. I think it's a good matchup for you guys. But we're playing tonight. Very excited.
We got to quickly go through the qualifying final. Believe it or not, we beat Brisbane.
Yeah, we did.
30 points, 6 goals. Is that 30 points or is that 5 goals? That's
33,
5 goals.
33, I think.
It's in between 5 and 6 goals.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Had a good lead at around half time, and then was able to hold it from then on. They had little patches where they, like 3/4 time was actually a bit of a feeling like this is a final. This is a good game. I walked past Joe Danaher going back to the centre circle during the 3/4 break, and I said, "This is what it's about." And he goes, "Yeah, I love this. And then we danced them. But looking forward to Geelong or GWS next week. We'll watch that as a group, you reckon?
Almost certainly. Yeah. They'll have it on the TV.
Who's your tip?
What happens if it's a draw? Extra time. I'm going to go, it's going to be a draw in regulation.
For someone who doesn't like, who likes to put all sorts of controversy topics up on the podcast, you've tipped a draw to sit on the fence in
I'm tipping
Geelong,
a draw,
GWS.
and then I reckon it'll be a GWS extra time victory.
I'm going Geelong. You?
I'll go Geelong. GWS are missing a few, but they're very good at getting games on their terms. So
that's what I thought. So that's why I voted them. But
fun fact, I cut Adam Tomlinson's hair yesterday. Never cut anyone's hair in my life, and I shaved it, and it looks good. Yeah. I went 0 to a half to a 1, and then a 1.5 up top.
Could you give me a haircut, do you reckon?
I'm only good with like trimmers like that. If you want scissors and
I just need
comb,
a side job.
Yeah, it could do.
Okay, let's link up later.
Cheese and garlic bread shapes.
This is... obviously, you know...
Well, let's talk shapes.
Well, let's do it right now.
There is a cheese and garlic bread shape, and I'm a massive garlic bread man, and there's a cheese and garlic bread shape.
Sure. Well, then I'm sure you're really happy with that. It's well chronicled, our journey. It's been a journey for the both of us. They made a steak and onion shape, which was a goddamn travesty, a slap in the face. We've reached out, and it's all about, we could help each other, I'm certain.
Who's your contact?
Well, thanks for stealing my segue. We've got a contact. Someone's reached out and said, I'm a high-ranking Shapes official.
Yep.
I've listened to your podcast.
Don't want to be named.
Well, I don't think I'm ready to name yet.
Yep.
We're still putting the pieces of this puzzle together. He said, I'm hiring Shapes official. I really think I can help. Let's get in a room, see if we can hash it all out. We've now got legal representation. As you said before, our boy Glenn Bartlett
wants to be involved.
Happy to do pro bono, which is great for our budget.
Thanks, Glenn. Didn't mention that, but I'm presuming he's happy to do pro bono.
He did say that.
Oh, did he?
I remember the text message very clearly.
He sent it to me.
You showed me.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So we've got, it looks like the pieces are coming together. So anyway, we're going to have a chat with Shapes. We've got a lot of spare time in the hub. I get the sense next week we could have something, loosely put together. If it's not a Barbie Onion shape, I'll be disappointed. Do you have any thoughts on, is that our...
Well, Barbie Onions is back. as well,
It is.
which is another talking point. I'd like it to be a Barbie Onion shape, but Gibbo, did you see? Sorry, Gibby. This week, Barbie Onions made a return to our socials.
I don't know if I even follow Barbie Onions, to be honest, but I should get on that.
I'm not sure either. There's a few.
I try and involve him. Like, he's sitting over there, hasn't said something for a bit, so I try and
I
involve
appreciate
him.
it.
And then he says he doesn't follow Barbie Onions, which is a tier 3 sponsor of the podcast.
Yeah, climb up to tier 1 or 2.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
Well, it's on the way. It's and I think look, what the point of bringing Barbie Onions up was we need to be united, and I'm bringing Gibby in here as well. We go into negotiations with this Shapes official all over the shop. He's gonna
poke holes in us.
He's gonna poke holes all over us. So I think that's what we're going for is our own podcast shape. And I think Barbie Onions is a natural flavour. They've already done all the work. They've got a steak and onion shape. Should be easy for them. I'm looking forward to seeing what I have to say about it all.
I just wanted to give an update about last year. Jonesy and I watched a lot of Wentworth.
Yep.
And there was the whole, you had to bring a treat, not a treat, a biscuit or something with you. You had to bring something with you. And they're very healthy, and there was lots of celery and hummus and stuff like that. And it got to the point where I was bringing some great Tim Tams or Crown Royals or something really good. I brought Hokey Pokey chocolate last night. Have you had Hokey Pokey chocolate? Anyone in this room had Hokey Pokey chocolate? Yeah, because you don't like to go out and buy stuff.
So there's this chocolate, right? It's called Hokey Pokey.
Have you been to Coles?
I've been to Coles.
Yeah. So I had Hokey Pokey
Coles
chocolate.
or a Woolies, man?
Mum was Coles, so I'm Coles. But now there's only a Woolworths in where I live, so I'm
Wow.
slowly going to Woolworths.
I was at Coles growing up and always go to Coles if I can.
Yep.
The thing is, on the way home, when I drive home from Amy Park, the Coles is on a clearway, so if it's in between 4:30 and 6:30, I can't park out the front of Coles and go to Coles. So then I become a Woolies man, but it sort of hurts me every time.
They're not the places you really want to go to at the moment because they're tier 1 places
man,
almost
just
every second day.
ask
Coles and
any kind.
Woolworths. Just get delivery. You don't get delivery.
Not Uber Eats, so just
Don't
starve.
have
Just starve yourself to death.
Dogger Jackson, his teeth, they're coming back. I think he's getting 2 new ones today.
So he probably couldn't eat Hokey Pokey anymore.
Couldn't eat Hokey Pokey.
How much? So you were selling Hokey Pokey for $100 a pop.
Yeah, I brought a lot of Hokey Pokey with me.
Can I have one
Yep.
for $100?
75, give you a 25.
I'll just get one Harmsy swish then.
Tom McDonald's meat game, very, very strong over here.
Bought himself a frying pan.
Yep.
Well,
No.
I'm sure you.
Yeah, he brought like a grill
Hot grill.
over with him.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, and he put some burgers on with his windows and doors closed, so the room absolutely reeks. And I think
What just happened to your voice?
the chef of Joondalup, I don't even know how to say this place,
Joondalup.
the chef of Joondalup Resort where we are, saw the Instagram and thought Tom had an issue with their food, so there's a bit of a fight going on back at the house, which is good.
you go.
Lastly, before we get to our guest, I want to talk cereals. I mentioned this at the end of last week's podcast. A lot's happened since last week. I've managed to get to 5 AAs, but we don't need to talk about that. I will with Goody because I'm even with Goody. We want to talk cereals. Did you bring your 5?
Certainly did.
Did you bring your 5?
I did.
I'm surprised you've had 5 cereals, to be
I
honest.
did a Google, and then they all came back to me.
Yeah. What's your 5, Gibby?
So porridge was the issue, whether we could include it or not. You sort of lean to not because I used natural oats, but I'm going to put porridge in there anyway.
Did you ever have bought porridge that you would buy growing up?
Yeah, the packet stuff.
Then it's fine.
Okay, thanks.
Put it
But I've
in
been
there.
making my own here.
Yeah, but that would
I
be
prefer
no.
to make it fresh because it sits there for a while when they do it.
Because you like to do it yourself rather than get any
put,
sort of
put my
takeout.
own things in. Chia seeds, some sultanas. Mix it up. Wheat Bix, that's a safe option.
Yep.
I went just right, only because
Interesting.
I got that onto that in the hub a bit last year because they just had them
very
sitting
accessible,
there.
just right. Always at every what's it? Where are we? Hotel.
Yeah, they always seem to have some.
Number 2, Milo Flakes.
Wow.
Strong flavour. It's a strong flavour.
And number 1, Fruity Bites.
Fruity
Have you heard of
Bites.
those?
Never heard of it.
Never even heard of a Fruity
Oh.
Bite. If you're telling me,
Fruity Bites. There you go.
Those things?
Oh, they're like a Wheat Bix crunch type. So yeah, I know.
they
what
got a
you're
little
saying.
bit of fruit.
okay.
Nice.
Look, I respect it. I thought it was like some knockoff Fruit Loop.
I have none of them.
Okay, I have a couple. So, boy,
Why are you blocking me?
I enjoyed doing this exercise because I don't want you to see and steal my answers.
Yep.
It's like when you do a test in
Yeah,
school and you just
you'd
cover
be the
your
sort of
answers.
bloke. You'd be cheating off me. I went on a glorious journey of my childhood, and my 5th choice was probably the biggest staple, and that was Wheat Bix.
Yep. So is Wheat Bix equal with Gibby?
Happy with that.
Big staple for me at number 5. When I was growing up, my junior footy pre-game was Nutrigrain, which is number 4.
Yep. Very accessible at every hotel.
Super
and-
accessible.
Yep.
Loses flavour quickly though.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
You got to have a low milk
It's a great
cereal
first bite.
density.
If you're doing
Yeah.
first bite,
Agreed.
neutral grain's probably in my 5.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, now of my top 3, my pointy end of the spear, I decided to put my current staple when I play football instead of what my 2 real favourites are. So I have a Carmen's almond, cashew, and
You
coconut
healthy boy.
muesli.
You healthy boy.
Bit of yogurt. Number 2, and this is probably the in terms of taste, I would say this is number 1, but only because my number 1 it means so much to me. Number 2 is Fruit Loops. And we
Well
never
known as the unhealthiest cereal going out
we
there.
never had Fruit Loops growing up. And the only time we got Fruit Loops was I don't know if you remember those little like 8 packs of little cereal.
Fruit Loops was in there.
Yeah, like I don't know where we'd get them, but mum would come home with them one day and there'd be a full-on fist fight to get the Fruit Loops first.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the other 2.
Well, you end up with Special K or something.
Special K or Nutri-Grain, which is number 4, but it's not bad. But Fruit Loops was like this like oasis of...
Jeez, what beats Fruit Loops?
And
Has
number
to- is
1
it
for
Cocoa
me
Pops?
was Milo Flakes.
Milo Flakes.
Hey, there we go.
Because
Wow.
I used to not only eat them in a cereal bowl, I used to come home and they would, I don't know if you remember this, they used to stack up. Sometimes you get like 3 or 4 stacked on top of each other, and I would just eat them like dry out of the box.
I left Milo Flakes out completely.
Milo Flakes was big for me because it bridged 2 meals really well: breakfast and then the chocolatey snack where
Yeah,
you got
I like
like
that.
a few of them.
Are you
stacked
both
up.
full cream
Versatile.
milk?
No.
I go light.
You're skinny? Or
I'm sometimes yogurt in the absence of milk because it
Yeah, right.
brings you don't get soggy Nutri-Grain if you put yogurt in there.
I'm full cream
I
milk.
tried yogurt in a cup of tea last year in the hub because I didn't have any milk. Doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't.
So yeah, yogurt doesn't work in place of milk.
We'll just try it out one time. Cereal's different.
Okay.
my 5.
Go on.
I also put a staple that I've got nowadays, the healthy Gawny. It's Wheaties, which is basically Wheat Bix crunched up. So it's just Wheaties, and I add sultanas to that. So I buy a bag of sultanas and add to it.
I'm big adding sultanas to cereal.
So that's number 5. Number 4 is my regular go-to because it's very accessible. Crunchy Nut.
Sure.
Very accessible. It's cornflakes with 20 times the amount of sugar.
Brilliant.
So Crunchy Nut. Number 3 is a cereal called Honey Wheats.
Never even in my life have heard of a honey wheat.
Unbelievable. If you want to do a little Google search, listeners at home, at Honey Wheats, you
be
may
doing
or
one
may
right
not
now.
have had it as a kid. I struggle to find them in any stores currently.
So where did you get them?
Well, they were obviously in your Woolworths, Coles. Well, Coles. Mum was a Coles.
Honey wheats with 2 E's?
2 E's.
There you go.
Yeah, that's number 3. Obviously, tastes like honey.
Bet.
Number 2 is part of the Uncle Toby's Plus range. They have like 6 different coloured boxes, and this one is Muesli Flakes, which is a bright orange box.
Did you say Uncle Tony?
Uncle Toby's.
Yeah.
That's the brand, but the type of cereal is called Muesli Flakes.
Okay, and
It's a bright orange box.
yep, I'm sort of looking at something like that
It's
now.
that top one there.
Yep, got it. And number 1?
And number 1 is Crispix.
Wow, Max.
Have you had Crispix?
Got some shopping to do.
Type in Crispix.
I'm doing it right now.
Crispix.
Okay, so that looks like very much... Is that what I'm looking at there?
Yeah, it's a yellow box in Australia though.
Okay, so Crispix is...
It's honestly the
it
best.
looks like...
The best thing going around. It's like little
Crispy
honey little
rice on one
wafers.
side.
Little
Yeah.
honey little wafers. They're my 5. Give us some feedback.
Please, and try to be easy when it comes to Max's 5. Don't go so hard on him. I know he's different, but that's who he is. We all love him for
We
it.
all
So
miss Cocoa Pops and Rice Bubbles and staples. Surely no one's got.
I'm certain, and I'm happy to be proven wrong here. If someone in our listenership has had Crispix before,
Or Honey Wheats.
or Honey Wheats seems more viable.
They're done. Honey Wheats are done.
If there's just anyone that on Max's list, then I'd be impressed. So get back to us on that. Should we go to a break?
We'll go to a break. Thanks, Gibby.
Thank you.
Thanks to our co-principal partner and podcast sponsor, Zurich Insurance. For over 100 years, they've been insuring the people and things you truly love. And just like you, they truly love footy and they truly love the D's.
Welcome back, Gus and Gawny. Before we get to our incredibly special guests, we got to thank our sponsors, Angus.
There are a few of them.
The tier 1s.
Top of the tree, we'll have to say Zurich.
Zurich, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Zurich. Zurich are the team there. Anyone who needs Zurich, obviously just go on their website, which we found out is just .com.
Just.com.
There's no .au.
That's all right. Who else? Jeez. Tier 1s.
Tier 1, well, we got a new tier 1.
So that's, for those who can see, vlog casting. We've got the Ed Langdon Coffee Merchants.
Langdon
have been bumped
Coffee
up.
Merchants have supplied us with keep cups.
Keep Cup. So
Which is exciting.
big pump up to them. We've got Fat Nut Customs.
Fat Nut Customs,
Bailey
they do
Fritz
great things.
Electrical.
Bailey Fritz Electrical. And then our tier 2s, Bigger.
Bigger fit fasteners industrial software. So if you need any of that stuff, go to Aaron Vandenberg. He's good with that stuff.
East End Wine Bar.
Wine Bar,
Barbie
Barbie
Onions.
Onions is back up and going.
And we've got a new tier 3 sponsor.
We do. It probably should be bumped up. We've got such a great deal.
So Charlie Spargo's done
So
some
we've got
great
Simon
work.
Goodwin.
Simon Goodwin.
Simon Goodwin, thanks for coming on the show, mate.
Thanks for having me. Finally.
Well, you're certainly right. It's been a while. We have had a long list, and you have been.
You were on our to-do list, and then we lost to Giants.
Yeah, not a good week.
Yeah, so we sort of held that back.
And we've sort of, after that, we decided when we said we're probably going to make finals, we thought we'd get you on then, that pre-finals bye, because you can't be unhappy going into finals. And I can't remember why we didn't go ahead with it
Because
that
the
week.
pre-finals bye got cut.
And now here we are. So that's
Stars have
good to have
aligned.
you.
We've won a qualifying final when you're happy.
I'm happy, mate. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to speak to you too. I haven't listened to one episode.
That's a lie.
Unfortunately,
No, that's a lie.
So just to walk me through that, because I wake up in the morning and I've got a beautiful view of our car park, and every single morning I open the curtains and you are by yourself, headphones in, cutting laps of our car park. It seems to be infinitely long walks that you go on listening to stuff.
What was the distance this morning?
11,000 steps this morning. So try and get 10,000 most mornings, make a few phone calls. Obviously, the time difference in Perth helps.
Yep.
And if not, listen to a few podcasts. But
What podcast are you listening to? Because obviously,
If we haven't made the list, what are you listening to?
listen to a bit of Tim Ferriss here and there, a little of Finding Mastery, depending on what topics you want to listen to.
Ferris's old news.
Sometimes just catch up on the news on SEN.
Yep.
Bits and pieces like that, but nothing too special, Max.
Have you got a PB yet? Around what's your best lap time around the car park?
I want you to time me tomorrow, Gus.
Oh, mate, hey, that's all. I've got nothing else to
There's
do.
been a few people talking about this walk.
Claire actually
I reckon
said
it's
this
about
morning.
1 minute 10, somewhere around there.
Claire reckons she was
it's
beating you
not
this
a-
morning, and you were about 2 minutes a lap. That's what she said.
Yeah, I was taking the inside,
Yeah.
and Claire was taking the outside, which meant she was
So-
probably getting a few more steps per
So
lap.
roughly how long do you think the lap is?
I reckon it's about 1 minute 10, maybe.
About
maybe
a 200
minute.
metre walk, is it?
Yeah, it's about 3 basketball courts.
So you're cutting about 50 laps,
Yeah.
Gee, that
100.
must be boring.
I reckon
100. 100 laps.
Yeah.
Geez, that's grim, isn't it?
Yeah, it's grim. It's tough.
So Goody, we were talking about sponsorships. Charlie Spargo and you. I saw you in here the other day hashing out some finer details. You actually, it's Cabin. It's called Cabin. You've got like an eco-friendly, it's like I assume a cabin business that people can go and stay.
Yeah, been involved for 3 years in a business called Cabin. It's eco-tourism based. It's accommodation in nature-based areas, and it's gradually building, and it's got some good opportunities there. But Charlie has hit me up about some
great.
potential
Sponsorship.
sponsorship.
It's great.
It must be growing because the sponsorship we've got, it's just an unbelievable deal.
Can
you guys will love
we
it.
can
Yeah.
reveal it?
Go on. So if you prepay for 50 nights in a cabin, you'll get 50% off. And this is rolled gold, stamped, certified by Simon Goodwin. You get 50% off your 51st night.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, you were pretty strong on 25% off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want it. But and this is
But Sparks negotiated,
Yeah.
did it hard, and he was also working on 25 nights.
Yeah, right.
I thought
Okay.
50 would be more appropriate.
So look, shout out to Sparks. That's clearly you're a tough negotiator. You have to be in the business. So big pump up to our CFO. So yeah, everyone, look, I don't know how good your what's it called, the IT stuff at Cabin is, because you're going to be overwhelmed very shortly with people trying to take that offer up. But it's Gus and Gawny at checkout, and I'll see you in your cabin. I guess that's probably the sign off.
All right, let's start. Let's start the serious stuff. Oh, where am I going here? 2021, obviously been a great year for the club, be able to finish top four.
Obviously, a great year for the club.
And now with a prelim final berth. 2019-20, probably not the years we wanted. Do you have
Definitely not
what's
the
your
years we
biggest
wanted.
learning curve from those 2 years to bring out in this year?
I think that probably the impact of 19 was significant on the footy club for a whole variety of different reasons. 18, we certainly took a leap that not many thought we'd take, and we were still very young and raw and didn't quite understand what it took. And there's no doubt 19 we got a lot wrong, from myself all the way through our department through to the playing group. And when you win 5 games in a season, it's a it's a long way back in terms of recovery, but in some ways it was a bit of the making of us. In terms of our learning around what was required to train to the level, to hold people accountable, to build a program that's going to be sustainable for success. And 19, I thought we took some pretty significant steps, although we didn't play finals, to win 9 out of 17 in the positive side of the ledger again, but to still see a playing group and a department that wasn't satisfied. There's no question, I think that ate away at people, and they wanted more, and they knew that we could still be better. And I think from that moment on, that was the real learning for us, is that the ownership required right through everyone in our department, and the ability to just execute a role and build that cohesion and chemistry was really strong. And I think we parked a lot of ego right through our footy club, and here we sit, in the position we're in. But I think there were some incredible learnings. I think not only myself that I took, but also the playing group and everyone involved. And we've built a good platform now.
Answered that pretty well, didn't you?
That's a pretty good answer, Simon.
Thanks, Gus. And I'll be honest, and obviously you two are sitting here, but I think the impact of our leadership and our leaders, without pumping you guys up too much, I know it's your podcast, has been significant. There's 7 guys that are in our leadership group, and the ownership has really started with you guys, and that's been a big part of the revival.
Which sort of segues to my next question, the ownership of the leadership group and how well. So I got my 5th All-Australian.
That's a terrible segue.
Which
had nothing to do with...
leadership. Which evens Goody's 5 All-Australians. So now there's a rumour that he's going to play dogger in the ruck and put me as the forward ruck, so there's no chance of beating him in All-Australians.
So this is how it went down, Gussie, when I sort of announced to the lads that you're going to be in the All-Australian team. I said to Max, welcome to the club.
Yep, sure.
And then he quickly followed up with, have you ever been an All-Australian captain?
And which
he
you
whipped
said...
it straight back, which I
No.
said no. So he's got me.
But I've never potentially been All-Australian coach, which is all potential.
Yeah, it is. And let's get this clear as well, whilst I'm segueing away from Max's big head.
We'll bring it back to me soon.
You're a 2-time premiership player as well in the spirit of finals. You won in 97, 98. So how old are you then as well? Pretty young?
Yeah, I was 19 and 20.
How do you reflect on that time? And then obviously we're playing in the prelim in a week's time. How do you what similarities, what differences, how was your experience in that time?
Yeah, look, it was incredible experience. I think of the guy like now, like a Jake Bowie, who's entering a finals campaign, only playing 5 or 6 games, and that was where sort of my career was at when I first came in to play for the Crows. So it was an incredible part of the journey in terms of the excitement. You didn't really know what it took to be successful, and you probably, in the end, when you look back at it, you probably didn't value how hard it was to win.
Yeah.
In 97, 98. I played 30 games to win 2 premierships, and I thought the game was pretty easy. I learned out pretty quickly in 99 that that's not the case. And then from that moment on, from 2000, I think that was when, as a player, I became the most professional I've been, and really worked incredibly hard to try and get back to win another premiership as a player. And I think the older you get, the more mature you get, the more you want it, and you understand how hard they are. And I played in another 3 preliminary finals and never got there as a player. And as a coach, I've been to another prelim final, haven't got there. So, they're difficult things to do and difficult games to win, and that's not lost on me. And there's been a lot of learnings through the last 15 years that I can tap into where we sit now, and the opportunity that presents itself to tap in and teach you boys and understand what's going to be really important in these types of games.
Let's talk Crows. Still go for them? Is there still something deep? I know you go for Melbourne, but is there still something deep down? I mean, you're one of the all-time best players to come out of that place.
Yeah, I think when you spend 15 years in one place, you are attached in some form. And I've got some great friends there, some great past players. There's fishing trips that go on that you sort of in the WhatsApp group and you hear about that you want to be involved in. But it sits there and it sits on the side, and it's something that's always there with you. But, where my heart sits now is here at Melbourne. It's a club that I've grown to love. You buy in, you invest everything you've got into a footy club, and this is where I am now. But I certainly look at the Crows and I see what they do, and I have a close eye on that, and you do have some affiliation to them, and you're always going to.
How does it go when,
Rashudo
drills us, or Ben Rudden you're coming up against, when you're coming up against former teammates and Rashudo's potting Jake Lever? Do you sit there and, do you call him?
You get on the phone to him?
Yeah, I got on the phone to him. I was pretty wound up about that one when he was potting Jakey. I got on the phone to him and said, come on, mate, it's got to stop, and you got to let that one go, because at the end of the day, it's impacting a player that now I'm coaching. Yep. And that's when you get on the phone and you have the conversation. But it hasn't happened too often, but there's still a bit of passion there.
Do you help Rudden?
Oh, we have conversations. Yeah, look, we caught up a lot prior to him taking the senior coaching gig around coaching philosophies, learning, education, where you go to study, trips that you'd go on, and we catch up probably post-season more than in-season. But, it's good to see someone that's been at your club under the similar sort of coaching background in terms of Neil Craig and come through the ranks.
Who does your son go for? Who does Eddie go for?
Eddie is the most passionate demon you've ever come across.
Is that who you want him to go for?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, he's once again he's invested a lot. Your family invests a lot into the footy club, and he's as brutally honest as he can be.
Yeah.
When we were 7-0, he said, "You guys are going to choke and miss the 8." That's pretty much when we stopped communicating for this.
He come a few mornings with us as well in the gym, so good to see Eddie getting involved. How's he?
He's a big Trent Rivers fan.
Is he?
Yeah.
Trent Rivers?
Yeah, big Trent Rivers fan. He's
What attaches him to Trent Rivers?
I don't know. I just got a phone after the final last year. Trent Rivers is a star.
Yeah, and he hasn't been dropped since.
After the final that we just played, and obviously Riv played a good last quarter, so obviously he remembers
and didn't get dropped
that last quarter. So, but yeah, no, he's not short of an opinion, Ed. When we win or we lose, there's often been a drive home from the MCG, and where I just hop in the car and he just says, "Shocking." That was just one word, and it doesn't go down well sometimes.
We got a segment on here called Positive Lingers. We love Lingers. We love everything he brings to Lingers. I just want to talk about Lingers' week this week and get Goody's point of view and advice on it.
Go on.
Lingers has come out swinging at his former coach. For someone who doesn't want to come on our podcast and stays relatively quiet, he's come out swinging to Ross Lyon.
And didn't miss either, by the way. Landed a few good ones.
Have you had a word to him?
I spoke to him the next morning because he was pretty shattered about it, Lingers. Yeah. And
negative
because he does have enormous respect for Ross. So I think he was trying to be positive, Lingers, to me.
Yeah.
And it sort of came out a little bit wrong. But I know that he has mopped up with Ross, and I know he's got enormous respect for Ross, but he was pretty shaken by it, Lingers, so we've had to get him back on track.
We were sort of laughing. We wanted Lingers to do like a casual close type press conference, when there's something really serious. There's a casual, and Ross Lyon standing behind him like, "I'm here for you, Ed." And we wanted something that would be quite funny, but obviously you didn't want that. I want to talk about your book. You have a book.
Yeah, it hasn't been a great seller.
Maxie reckons it's called Simon Goodwin's book.
What's it called?
It's just called Goody.
Goody.
Yeah,
thank God.
But it hasn't been a bestseller. A lot of my mates quite often send me where they're found it at a $2 shop, or it's just got a
Could we get a
label
copy
on it.
somehow?
Yeah, I'll find you a copy. They're about 50 cents to $1 somewhere now at the moment, but I'll get you a copy, Max.
A signed one?
Yeah.
It's post footy career, so no coaching of Bombers, no Melbourne stuff.
Purely post footy.
Yep.
So
it's been out a while, has it? Or
it's been out since 2010. So it's been a while.
You were talking about this morning like it was just recently out. Gawny's only just discovered it.
Claire's Googling. She's trying to find it.
Oh, $16.99. You still get half of that? Is it half?
No, she was a one-off payment.
Oh no.
Probably wise in the end.
What year did you retire?
2010.
So that means you were involved in what I think was my greatest finals moments I've ever seen, was when Buddy kicked that goal outside 50.
Yeah.
That was at Marvel, whatever it was called then, against you guys?
Yeah, against us. It was an elimination final at Marvel. The game was in the balance, goal for goal in the last quarter. Pretty high scoring. All I can really remember, and you remember these details, is that we obviously talk about these stuff in the way we educate, but we had the ball deep in our defence, and there was 27 seconds left on the clock, I think, and Scotty Thompson had the ball, and he just had to go wide, long down the line, get a stoppage, get it out of bounds.
He's done a Tom McDonald.
He's kicked it on the full. And the ball's come straight back in, and Buddy's marked it and had his shot. So, interesting way to lose a final. Shattering.
2010. That means I was playing a year when Goody was still there. That's funny.
You ever playing it? Oh,
I see him as like some 60, 70-year-old. He's actually...
You didn't play in your first year, did you?
No, I didn't play in my first year. But I remember watching a Melbourne-Adelaide game. Goody would have been out there.
You would have been.
That's crazy. Before we wrap up...
Sure.
Have you got anything? You haven't asked much.
What do you mean I haven't asked much?
Have you got anything?
I had a bit. I had car park walks, flagging experience, learning curve.
Okay. Your favourite player?
In the competition?
Both. I want Melbourne on field and off field, and then I want competition. So 3
You
answers
can
here.
include clubs in your favourite if you want to group people together. So like the Wingers Club, for example, you could say.
Favourite off field? I'm gonna go with positive Lingers.
Yeah.
Smart.
Only because he's just such a good human, and he just has a different way of life away from footy, and I respect that. On field, it's a really tough one, Max. You know that. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. I'll answer it for you. It's Vines.
It's hard to go past.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough. It's tough to go past.
Yeah.
Just the way he plays,
Yeah.
The intensity he brings. Sometimes you watch the vision. He's actually half mad, but in a good way.
And then comp wide.
Comp wide. I've always loved watching Buddy.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's just an absolute star. What he's been able to do over such a long period of time. And before Buddy would have been Cyril.
Yep.
You know, those two guys have been someone that you just love going to watch the footy, and you know, you'd buy a ticket to go and watch them.
Has Lingers invited you to go bouldering yet? Or
No.
well, maybe when he listens to, because you've given him a good pump up there. If he asks you to go bouldering, we might send like a body cam in on you, so just we can see what it's like north of the city. And yeah, please let us know when that does happen. It's been good to have you, Simon.
It's been great.
I just want one controversial one before we go. I'm going to give you 2 names, and you tell me which side you sit on. McLeod, Edwards.
There's no way. I love them both. I love them both. There's no way I'm answering that way.
Thanks,
Well,
Goody.
thanks for coming on.
No worries.
Good
Thanks
luck
for
this
having me.
week, mate.
Yeah, thanks.
This
Likewise.
We've got to buy this for Nicky.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening.